Welcome to the Practicing Accountant podcast, where we tackle the real challenges of being a modern accounting firm. In today's episode, we dive into the powerful concept of mindset, exploring how shifting your mindset from that of a technician to that of an entrepreneur can have significant impact to your practice and help you accomplish what you mean to in your business. We talk about owning a job and owning a business and the difference between the two. And we hope you enjoy this episode of the Practicing Accountant podcast. Enjoy. One of the best ways I can point to this is, and maybe some of the folks have read the book, The E-Myth, and they even have an E-Myth for accountants book. I think they got an E-Myth for just about anyone now at this point. But the E-Myth is that just because someone started a business does not mean that they're an entrepreneur.
Right.
And in my experience and opinion, I think there's a lot of successful CPAs that have started businesses, but I don't know if necessarily they're an entrepreneur.
Mm.
And I'd say, well, what's the difference? Well, it's like for me, I'm a coach. And so just because I'm a coach doesn't mean I have a business. Just because I have clients as a coach doesn't mean necessarily that I have a business or that I'm an entrepreneur, at least. Like an entrepreneur is looking to take care of the business, is looking to take care of the clients as well, to do the work as well, but also work on the business so that it is growing and becoming what they want it to be. Like for me, it's pretty simple. Like I want my Mondays and my Fridays clean, so I can work on the business. And Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I want to spend with as many clients as I can. And that's kind of my entrepreneurial perspective on how I run my business, because it gives me time to work on it, to write blogs, get new business, do networking, do the things I need to do. It saves me time to actually do billable work, so I can pay my own bills and take care of my family. And truth be told, it gives me some flexibility too to say, I don't want to work this Friday.
Right.
Or I'd rather take some time off. But the E-Myth identifies really that there's a lot of business owners that aren't entrepreneurs. They're technicians.
Yep.
They're accountants that have a business, but they're not really, the entrepreneurial spirit. And why I bring up the E-Myth is because it's a mindset thing. You can have a mindset of I want to prepare tax returns. That's what I want to do. And you can get a lot of clients and you can prepare a lot of tax returns, and you can find yourself in a world of hurt because you are working too many hours. You have completely are devoid of a life in busy season and come the early fall, September, October, and it's not sustainable.
Right.
That's not an entrepreneur. That's an accountant run amok. That's an accountant who's just gone and found as many clients as they can account for. Or do tax prep for. So that mindset of the accountant says, give me something to work on. The mindset of the accountant says, give me returns, give me books to keep, give me entries to make, give me answers or questions that I can answer from my clients. The accountant's mindset doesn't say, is this working for me? Is this sustainable? Is this something I want to grow? This is something that I want to be doing in 20 years. The entrepreneur comes in and says, let's build something that really works for ourselves. Let's build something that gives me engagement and joy and fulfillment in what I'm doing. And they're almost competing.
Right. Sorry to interrupt you. And is it E-Myth where he talks about owning a job versus owning a business? I mean, similar concept, but is that where that phrase comes from?
Yeah, same thing.
A lot of people hang their shingle and you end up working harder, and now you have 100 bosses instead of one.
Yeah, right.
And you essentially own your job. You don't own a business. You don't create processes around it. You aren't intentional about it, which intentionality is something we should get into in a minute. But I just wanted to interject the owning your job versus owning a business. There has to be a differentiation.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. All right.
Sure.
So give me a something that you want to accomplish 3 to 5 years from now.
I want to be 5 years from now. I want to be totally independent of my accounting firm. I want to be, I work pretty few hours now. About 4 hours a day. I want to be maybe 1 hour a day or none a day.
Okay. And what kind of mindset do you have to have so that you make that actually happen?
Coming from a place of planning and future looking, forward looking, not reactionary, but more visionary.
Intention, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how does that compare to the mindset you have today? Are they in sync?
Yeah, I think I've got to the point where I am now, where I don't have to work that much. I make a good salary. The firm mostly runs itself. I put out the fires and I do some marketing. But that mindset has got me where I am today. Roadblocks are, hiring people to replace me or finding systems to replace me.
I don't care about roadblocks. I'm not worried about roadblocks.
Sure.
I'm not even worried about how. I'm worried about how you're going to do it. But my point of the conversation, and I'm happy that you're in that mindset today, but I would imagine there's a lot of accountants that aren't in the right mindset today to create what they want 3 to 5 years from now.
Yeah.
They're in a mindset of, what do my clients need today? What do I have to do today so that I can get done with today and do this again tomorrow?
Oh, there's probably 2 days a week where I am in that mindset. I'll slip back into that very quickly.
Sure. But that mindset is different. Like, it has to be an attitude, which is all mindset is. It's attitude, but it's a way of performing so that you are moving towards and accomplishing the thing that you want for your firm. But right now, all that a lot of accountants want for their firm is just to get through the next deadline.
Yeah.
It's just to get that client happy. It's just to file that return. It's just to get those books closed. That's it. And it just goes into this wheel, our good old hamster wheel again, of just doing the same thing and hoping for something better or different, but finding no different, because the mindset's the same. The mindset is just get through another busy season. The mindset is, let's add some software this year. The mindset is, let's maybe get rid of a client or two, or maybe bring in a client or two, and let's just see how it goes. But the mindset has to shift so that you are actually moving and acting like someone who wants the business that you have a vision of having, and is taking steps daily in some form or fashion.
Right.
I think I've talked about this book here before, but there's a book called The Science of Getting Rich. And it's a foundational book. It's a source of a lot of information and a lot of ways in which we can behave. And I love it because it was written in 1910 and it hasn't been washed, and it hasn't been codified, and it hasn't been morphed into something that you put into a TED Talk or a webinar. It's just simple. It's blunt. And it basically says every day you should know what it is you want to accomplish, and not that day. We're talking about your goals, your vision for your firm. You should know what you can do that day so that you can move a step closer to your vision. And at the end of the day, you should reflect on whether you did it or not. Did I do something today to move me closer to the vision I want to have? That mindset is the mindset that we need so that we get the business we want. Otherwise, we just have the business we have. And it's created through clients and capacity issues and pain, and maybe we raise the prices every year or every 5, and maybe we've hired someone, or maybe we've outsourced something, or maybe we've done something different. I put it this way. A new client comes in the door, and let's just say a new client comes in your door and says, hey, I'm here because I want to talk about what you do, and I think I need your help. How do you respond to that?
Old mindset or new mindset?
Old. Absolutely. We can help you. We'll take care of it. We'll figure out how to do it if we don't know how. And what will you do for this potential client?
Anything I can to get them on board and to keep them.
Okay. So what I'm angling towards is a new client comes into an accountant's office and they say, hey, I want a tax return done. How does the accountant respond? The accountant responds, well, we can actually do your tax prep. That's great. Here's what we do, and here's how much it'll cost, and let's get moving, sign you up, and let's do the work. That mindset is the accountant mindset, because all it sees is what it does as its job, to your point, which is tax prep or bookkeeping or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. But imagine going into that conversation with an advisory mindset. How would that change the conversation? Well, hang on. I hear you. You need some tax help. Let's hear about your business. Let's hear about what you're up to. Let's hear about what you do. Let's hear about all the ways in which we might be able to help you. Like I'm not going to just put myself into this compliance mode of only being a commodity for this client. I'm going to explore other ways in which I can help them. And now, why would I step into that advisory mindset? Well, because I want to have an advisory practice someday. I don't want to just be doing tax returns or books. I want to be doing more for my clients. Sure. But if you approach that meeting with the accounting mindset or the tax mindset or the bookkeeping mindset or whatever the fuck you want to call it, that's all you're going to get out of it.
Right.
I have an exercise I do before I get onto a call with either a client or a networking or whoever I'm talking to. I did it today. I sit here for about 20 to 30 seconds and I just breathe. I know that sounds goofy, but I do. I take deep in, deep out. There's a thing called box breathing where you can do 4 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever you're comfortable with. Some people do 7 or 8 or 9. Right. But you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 4, you let it out for 4, you leave it out for 4, and you do that over a number of repetitions. Sure. And what I'm really doing is creating awareness for who I am being and also choosing intentionally who to be on the call or the meeting or whatever it is I'm about to step into, because I want to have control over the mindsets that I bring into the conversations I have. And I don't want to just show up as just the coach all the time. Sometimes I want to show up as just someone who's curious, like, tell me more. I want to hear more about you and what else you're doing. How else can I help? Now, I don't really like to do much more than coaching, so I don't explore too much. It's my vision. But for a CPA or an accountant with the practice, what mindset are they bringing into the conversations they're having with their clients? Are they bringing in a mindset of, oh, shit, another client that I have to serve that's going to take away from my capacity, and that sucks. How quick is that meeting going to be? Super quick. Are they going to get a client? Probably, because there's not that many going around, and they've just added to their pain. Now, if they go into that conversation instead with an advisory, or even with just an idea of what their ideal client is, from our previous conversation, like it's a different conversation. Like, I hear you. You need tax prep. That's great. Let's talk about what else you need, how else I can serve you. Let's talk about what it looks like for me to work with you and what I expect from the relationship between ourselves. And that I like to communicate more than just once a year. I like to be a part of the decision-making process and how you're tax planning and how you're doing the things that you're doing. Like, I'm becoming someone that you have a relationship with, not a transaction with. Right. That might be a great way to look at it. It's just a transactional mindset versus a relationship mindset. If I go into a networking meeting, let's say it's a lunch, and if I go into it, and let's just say it's someone at an accounting firm who I'm trying to get as a client, if I go into that meeting with a transactional mindset, what am I going to say? I'm going to say, hey, it's great having lunch with you. Let's work together. Let me find a way in which you can pay me to do what I do so you'll be better in whatever it is you want to be better at. Yeah. Now, that lunch is not going to go well because there's no established relationship there. They're a little bit uncomfortable. I'm probably coming on strong, probably too quick. I haven't established trust and credibility, and that'll be a first date that's gone wrong. And it won't be a second date. Now, if I went into that with more of a relationship mindset, like I want to get to know this person, I want to find out what they like to do. I want to find a reason for us to have a second date. Like, I'm going to find ways in which we can connect again at a deeper level. Like, let's go fishing. Like, let's go play some disc golf. Like, let's go on a hike. Like, let's do something that we can really build this relationship from. That mindset may be the difference between me getting a great client or either no client at all or a bad one.
So
choice.
You put in, or you said a couple things, advisory versus compliance, relationship versus transaction. And then you said a word that I want to touch on is commoditization. I think if you focus on the latter of those two versus, compliance versus advisory, transaction versus relationship, I think the more advisory relationship role decommoditizes your business instantly, because once you have a relationship established, once they see you as an advisor, it's not a race to the bottom with pricing. And you instantly decommoditize yourself from the tax preparer down the street.
Yeah. Well, think about just sitting to the commodity mindset. Let's call it that, because we can call it, anything. We can come up with 1,000 mindsets, millions. If you think about the commodity mindset, what does it do? It compares what we charge to the guy down the street.
That's it.
It tries to get the client in with whatever means we can, meaning we'll decrease price. Oh, we'll settle on that. Oh yeah, we don't extend. We'll do a lot of things to commoditize our services and ourselves. And then like that mindset sucks.
Yeah.
But instead, if it's just thinking about it from I want to be the advisor, or I want to be someone they have a relationship, or I want to be someone you actually value, it changes how you talk. It changes how you show up. It changes what comes out of your mouth. It changes how they receive you. But the core, if there are any, the core mindsets are fixed versus growth. And a fixed mindset is someone who feels really entitled to be where they are, like they deserve to be where they are, and they don't really need to do anything else. Like they're just fixed in where they're at. And I would dare say some accountants probably reach that. In working with public accountants, I know a lot of partners who have a fixed mindset. They deserve to be where they are. They don't need to do anything else. They don't need to, really work that much harder than they already are. And that's where they're going to be. Meanwhile, the growth mindset is a place where you believe in development, where you believe in growth, where you believe in the ability to influence better and more efficient and more lovely and more joy and more happiness. Like you're constantly trying to grow into what you want to become. And I think that foundation, you see that those competing forces in whatever mindsets you choose. But the key, I think that I'm not going to be the one that says, hey, you can wake up happy every morning. Like, I think that's bullshit. I think if you wake up in the morning and you feel happy, that's great. And a lot of times you may not. Can you influence how you feel every morning? Absolutely. Intentionally. You can go on a walk, you can read a book, you can have coffee with your spouse. You can do the things that bring a little bit of joy and happiness. You can influence your attitude, your mindset around your day. And if you start your day by asking the question of what am I going to do today towards creating the firm that I want to have, and do it, like just imagine the feeling of success, of confidence, of I don't know, it's freeing. It's freeing to actually take a step towards what you want to be, rather than just go through another day of the same shit that you've been doing for years. But we've got to move the needle on it. We've got to change the mindset. We've got to move from being just an accountant to being the entrepreneur who's building the business they want. And those are two very different mindsets in how they speak, how they behave, who they're talking to, who they're not talking to, who they take on as a client, who they don't take on as a client, the work they do this summer towards next busy season or not. Yep. Like a lot of accountants, they go into let's call it a settled mindset. So I'm getting creative now. I'll call it a settled mindset. That they've settled into whatever it is that they've built as being whatever it is. Good enough. It's enough to pay my bills, and hopefully I can put a kid through college and pay for a vacation or two a year. Yeah. And maybe that's enough. And I don't judge. If that's how they want their life to be, love it. Love it. But if there's pain, and if they haven't seen their kids for 3 months, and if they haven't been able to actually take the vacation that they promised that they take twice a year, well, that sounds unsettled to me. It doesn't sound settled at all. It sounds more complacent. It's a complacent mindset where it is what it is, and I just have to accept it for what it is, and that this is as good as it's going to get, and I don't have to. I shouldn't or even bother trying to do anything else or anything differently. And I think that affords an opportunity to shift that mindset into something that says, wait, actually, no, it could be better. No, we could change. No, we could create more capacity. We could get rid of some clients. We could break the hamster wheel, and we could start building the business that we actually want, rather than one that we've just come across or come into or just found because I have a job that's called a business, versus being an entrepreneur who's actually going to steer this towards strategic goals, vision. It's going to have tactics or rocks, and it's going to be the business they want.
Now, a lot of people will say, well, that sounds great. Of course, I want to grow my business. I should change my mindset. But, not a groundbreaking conversation to know that if you want to grow, you need to be intentional about growing. I think one of the objections would be, okay, so what can they put on hold to make time to work on the business rather than in the business? So where, summer's a great time to do that, but maybe they're traveling and there has to be an exit ramp from that hamster wheel somewhere, and there has to be some sacrifice made at some point along that path. What's your suggestion for practitioners that just can't find the time to work on the business?
You know, I work with workaholics occasionally, and no surprise, I find them in accounting. But the best way to break a workaholic is to give them something that they want to do besides work. And working on your business needs to become something that they want to do more than work. Like that's the simplest way I can answer that question. Like, yes, that does mean maybe to get rid of a client or two so you have more room. It might mean to change your schedule and how you work. It might mean to find the possibilities and spare moments. You know, like the 15 minutes between meetings or the 30 minutes that you've got where there's nothing scheduled or nothing to do. There's possibility in those small chunks. And so I say start small, but every day do something, even if it's 10 minutes towards creating the business you want. And it could be picking a client to fire. It could be, I'm going to read a book. It could be, I'm going to watch a webinar. It could be whatever it is, but just start small. Like part of the reason that this is somewhat overwhelming is because we're in a, you know, get it now culture where if you need the light bulb, Amazon will have it at your door tomorrow. And business doesn't work that way. You know, vision doesn't work that way. We have to create space and time for effort and for change. And that has to come slowly, but surely. The concept of changing your mindset, to your point, is simple, but it's not easy.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's very easy to say, I'm going to change my attitude and I'm going to ask different questions and I'm going to show up differently. That sounds simple. But the actually to go into a meeting and say, am I going to be this or am I going to be that? And then to actually live in that mindset in that conversation is hard. And to come out of that conversation still holding that mindset on what you do next is hard. Because you got to remember it. You got to be intentional about it. You got to really focus on it. You got to make that happen. And that part is hard because there are so many distractions. Clients, urgent and important matters, families, life. You know, there's plenty that's going to take you away from changing your mindset. There's plenty of things that are going to distract you from pushing towards your vision. And you've just got to be vigilant. You've just got to be intentional and vigilant.
Sorry to interrupt you, Doug. Made a point about instant gratification. And I think that's something worth pointing out. Changing your firm for the better is a delayed gratification exercise. You are not going to change now and see instant results from it. It's going to be way down the road. However, if you bring a client on that walks in the door and is not your avatar, is not someone you want to work with, that's instant gratification. That's an instant, you know, boost in revenue right there.
Right.
But that's where you're disallowing yourself that off ramp from the hamster wheel.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but I mean, you know, when you wake up in the morning and say, my intention and mindset today is around building the vision of my firm. If you're having conversations with clients or potential clients that you shouldn't be working with, you're not moving in the direction you should be going. You're either still doing another turn on the hamster wheel, or you're just creating more runway on that hamster wheel that you're going to have to overcome eventually. And so it's not only what you do, it's also what you don't do. And I think a lot of the it's easy to point at, you know, here's all the things you should be doing, but usually it's all the things that you are doing you shouldn't be doing that you need to focus on first. Right. Like spending too much time on clients that don't appreciate you. Even extending too much. That's one that I've heard recently, like there's too many extensions and we're creating this year-long busy season because of this habit of, you know, if we can't get it done and we're going to push it into summer, like CPAs should literally, for the most part, they should be gone June and July. I mean, they shouldn't be, you shouldn't be able to get a hold of your accountant every June and July. They should be MIA. They should be on some sabbatical or fishing trip or something where you just can't find them because they didn't postpone all their work. They didn't bring on more than they could have done during busy season. And so, you know, they're not dealing with this many extensions. They're dealing with, you know, what they want to be spending their time doing rather than what they feel like they have to do or what's urgent. And I think there's a symptom, maybe even I'm going a little strong here, like I wonder if there's data, and I'm sure there is, on the number of extensions today versus 10 years ago. And I wonder
COVID exacerbated that quite a bit because of the delay in the filing date.
Yeah.
And
Longest busy season ever.
All the extra work that came with the stimulus, and that created a mindset of a year-round firm. And
Right.
it's probably hard to push your clients back to, no, we're going to get you done between February and April. That's that.
Well, that busy season lasted from 2020 to the 2022.
Yeah.
That was the longest busy season in history of busy seasons.
Oh, yeah.
And it just didn't stop because of the amount of work that was going on, plus the difficulty of doing it in a different way for a lot of folks and firms, and plus the PPP and plus the extensions and plus the deadlines shifting and all those things that just created a complete quagmire. And so maybe there's some habits that were formed in which that is the norm. It's not. It shouldn't be. Well, the norm is whatever you want it to be. And again, I don't come at this with judgment. So if you like to stay busy all year long, good for you. But it doesn't have to be that way. Like get your work done in January through April or May, and then disappear, and then come back and check on things in August and September, and then roll into a new year. Break the hamster wheel. Break the norm. I'm getting a little off track, but I guess if I kind of brought these thoughts together, it is to first of all realize what mindset are you currently in. Are you just an accountant? Are you just a job? Are you just a tax preparer? Because whatever you recognize your mindset as being is probably what you are going to continue to be.
Sure.
And if that doesn't align with your expectations for where you want to be, or where you want your firm to be, or what your vision for your firm is, that's the opportunity, is to shift into that mindset, whatever it takes. If it's someone who's trying to grow and scale, then they should be finding ways to grow and scale and adopting a mindset that's around growth. And if it's, more of the same, then that's fine too. I don't judge. But the opportunity remains that if there's a misalignment between the mindset you have and the mindset that your business and you and your family need, that's the opportunities to change.
Yep. And that's where the issue lies. So the title of this was, how can we change our mindset to run a better firm? Mm-hmm. What are some action items or some places that you can take intentionality mindset or the growth mindset? The first thought, as we're talking about this, it immediately comes to capacity. And one of our core tenets is capacity and pricing. So what can you do once you decide to make this mindset shift? What's a big rock that you can start hammering out?
Well, back up. Better is such a subjective word.
Sure.
And I think we would each have our own definitions of what better meant in our practices and in our business, so that we could, be more clear on exactly what we're refining into better.
Yeah. And
if better is, I want to have more hours in my business or outside of my business to choose to spend however I'd like. That's better, is more hours. Then, taking a look at your clients, going into the data, deciding which clients you should no longer be serving, who should make room for other new and better clients to come into that would pay you more and expect maybe even less than the ones you're serving. So pretty much everything that we've been talking about in these videos so far is I think action items that you can take towards better. Sure. But this mindset piece of it is core, because there's no reason to do a lot of what we've been talking about if you've got a mindset of compliance or complacent or fixed. Because why would you do anything different? Right. You would just keep doing what you're doing. And so everything we've been talking about, those ideal client, pricing, capacity, firing, all those things are elements that you are taking on the mindset for growth or for a better mindset.
Yeah. And it's a prerequisite to making any change.
Sure.
I mean, and you probably aren't even watching this video if you don't have some sort of hidden growth mindset in there.
Sure. Yeah, of course. But I think it's some action items I mentioned today, I think are very relevant. And I'm a huge fan of mornings, and here comes some judgment. But if you're sleeping past 6 every morning, you might have the wrong mindset. And what I mean by that is, I imagine an entrepreneur, and I know myself, and I imagine you do too. Like, I'm up at 5 every morning, I'm spending some time waking up. I'm spending some time with my family. I'm spending time answering emails. I'm also spending time asking myself, what am I going to do today that, will have an impact on my business for the future that I want?
Hmm.
And I'm naming some things like, make that phone call or send that email or remember to reach out to, or remember to do whatever it is, or to maybe look at some clients that I need to either raise prices on or get rid of or cull. But I use that time in the morning because it's the only time of the day where it's quiet. It's the only time of the day where clients aren't calling, emails aren't coming in, and I'm actually left to my own devices. And by devices, I don't mean, playing on social media on my phone.
Right.
I mean my own perspective on how I'm going to treat that day. And to actually have an influence on mindset, it starts in the morning. Like I went on a 4-mile walk today, which was great. But what did that do to my mindset? Like it gave me a better attitude towards my day. I had more energy for my day. I'm looking at things a little bit more positively. I've got more energy. I'm actually hungry and deserve lunch today versus, I'm just doing it because it's 12.
Right.
But it has an influence. Your morning has an influence on your entire day. So I always would start with mornings. And again, I apologize for judging, but if you're sleeping past 6, you've got an opportunity there to create some space to explore your mindset. And
Well,
and
I'll take offense to that because I'm a night owl. So I
Right.
would say, alternatively, if you're not working till 11 or 12 at night, then your mindset's not there. That's when I get. That's
Well,
when
you're also in a time of life where that my kids are up at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night nowadays. So I don't get that
True,
time
yeah.
like I used to.
Yeah.
And so I had to make I was a night owl too. I'd stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning, and I was normally doing busy work. I wasn't really doing like intentional work or the stuff that was important but not urgent. And then once my children started to get older and started to stay up later, I didn't have that opportunity as much. So I had to go to the mornings. So
Fair
you're
enough.
right. Everyone's on their own circumstances.
As long as
in
you
life.
make time for.
But it requires time. It requires
Yeah.
time that's quiet. It requires time where you can have these thoughts and make intentions and set expectations and hold accountability at the end of the day.
Right.
So it starts with, and I'll say you need time, whether that's morning or late at night. It needs one of those.
Sure.
And then the second thing I think is just being aware of your mindset. Like with going into this call, going into a client call, like I have to be aware of the mindset I'm bringing into that conversation, because if it's negative, if it's fixed, if it's distant, if it's compliant, if it's commodity, that's going to be a different conversation than it could be.
Yeah.
So taking a couple of moments just to breathe and be aware of the mindset you're in versus the mindset you want to be, it might allow you to step into the one you want to be. And you can influence those conversations more in the direction of where you want your business to go rather than where it otherwise may just end up.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, Doug. Well, I appreciate it as always, and we'll see everyone next time.
Take care. Thanks for watching the Practicing Accountant podcast. We hope today's discussion on shifting your mindset from accountant to entrepreneur has inspired you to take intentional steps towards transforming your practice. If you thought this episode was valuable, we'd very much appreciate that you shared it with your colleagues and friends and posted a review. But thank you very much for watching this episode of the Practicing Accountant podcast. Goodbye.